This is what product market fit should look and feel like. It's what happens when a product satisfies strong customer demand and is purchased over and over again as your profit surges. But while simple to explain, reaching product market fit is actually very hard. Most makers build their products intuitively, assuming they know what their customers need, but lack of proper market research explains why customers more commonly react like this.
I don't give a shit.
They simply can't care less. If we break down the term, half of the product fit market paradigm is about fitting into a market. And when I say market, I mean any big enough group of people who have a problem your product can solve and will happily pay for the solution. This is why defining your target market needs to come before building the actual product, because the fit is more likely to happen with a specific target market in mind. Hi, I'm Z from the Freemius team, and if this is the kind of content you're looking for, smash the subscribe button because we're posting content like this on a regular basis, and you don't want to miss out. This is Patrick Posner, the product market mastermind behind 6 thriving software solutions. Patrick always selects a market segment first and only then builds a product targeting those customers. But with 6 hard-earned wins under his belt, Patrick also knows what failure feels like. Back in the spring of 2020, Patrick built QYRR, a decently priced QR code generator for bars and restaurants.
A friend who had a bar, he had to pay like $200 a month, and I was like, oh no, don't do that, cancel it right now, we'll build it for free, you can use it. And yeah, it worked.
Patrick thought he'd nail product market fit due to the emerging dependency upon online orders and thanks to his competitive pricing. But when he launched the product, it fell flat on its face.
Over the period of like, let's say 8 to 9 weeks, the sales went absolutely crickets. People just didn't care.
That's when Patrick realized he didn't really understand his audience.
I know nothing about handling a restaurant or like having a bar. Problems they face, things they care about.
And this is a story we hear a lot. Founders target a market that seems to make sense, they build a product that fits on paper, and when they launch it, it flops. Choosing the right target market boils down to answering 4 cardinal questions. The first is your market big enough? Considering that you'll need to target huge crowds just to get your first 100 customers. Second question, do you need to educate them, or will they already be aware that they need your solution? Because educating an audience that doesn't know they have a problem can take years. It's a slow and expensive process that might not be worth your risk. Third, how much money will they make or save by using your product? Because customers will only pay you a fraction of the money your product is worth to them. And fourth, is solving the problem a high enough priority for them to bother even paying attention? When your target market flops, the reason has very little to do with how you dress and who you hang out with. This isn't Mean Girls.
You can't sit with us!
It usually has to do with one of these 4 questions. Now the only problem is, do you understand your audience deeply enough to answer these questions? Proper market research will entail using demographic data to calculate your total addressable market, meaning how many people in the world need the solution you offer. Some founders will use SEO tools like Ahrefs to measure the volume of people searching for a solution, an indicator of how many people are trying to educate themselves about the problem you can solve. You can also gain a lot of ground by spying on your competitors through their pricing pages and social channels to see how much they charge, what features they offer, and what their users are complaining about. But at the end of the day, nothing beats getting close to the people themselves.
Join communities, join Facebook groups, hang out on Twitter, whatever, where your customer base is sitting around, and get a feeling of their problems and if what you're building is actually what they care about.
The best way to test if you know what your audience is looking for is by coining your value proposition. A value proposition isn't about explaining what your product does. It's about briefly articulating why your users should care. As a SaaS that handles payments, Freemius lets software makers set their product up in minutes and sell to anyone in the world while collecting insights about their growing customer base. However, the value proposition emphasizes the customer's core need and the cardinal pain points. This is the basic formula to build on. We help X do Y by doing Z, or in our case, we make sure your subscription dollars are flowing in while you can confidently focus on building a great product your customers love. Now that we've covered the market, another aspect of product market fit is right over there. You, the founder. Given that you are the foundation of all the ideas your business produces and executes, it's crucial not to overlook your own characteristics as a maker. If you focus entirely on the target market and other people's pains and needs, you might find yourself pursuing an idea that you can't or don't really want to deliver on. My next story is about how taking yourself into account can make it much easier to nail product market fit. Before starting Freemius, our team created a microsas that allowed you to add a 5-star rating widget to your website. Tons of free users adopted the product, including big brands. But even though we had tons of leads to sell to, it proved extremely hard to monetize a software product. The existing e-commerce platforms were hard to maintain, took months to set up, and were self-hosted. And they didn't even offer functions tailored to software makers. Using them was just too much overhead. So we created Freemius. And our rating widget was the first product to be sold on the platform. Developing a product and using it to push your own business forward is what we call dogfooding your product, testing and validating it by becoming its first user. It's a very common practice in our industry. However, just the fact that the solution we built worked for us still didn't guarantee market fit. In fact, it almost never does. This is serial startup entrepreneur Jason Cohen.
This is how I think a lot of companies start. I had the problem, so I built it, with the assumption being other people have the problem and they'll pay me for it, which is almost never true.
So let's be clear on why dogfooding your product is effective in finding product market fit. The fact that you are the product's target audience means not only that you're passionate about building the solution, but that you also know exactly what questions to ask. This is what we found when conducting market research for Freemius. When asking other software makers about their experience with existing sale platforms, they shared a sense of frustration that was similar to what we had experienced. It was holding them back from making money and growing their business, so they were well aware of the problem and eager to solve it. And it was easy to quantify in cash how much it would be worth to them. Also, a broader analysis of this market segment indicated that software makers in this niche had roughly 540 million active product installs. We calculated that 2% of these installs could be monetized, giving us 10.4 million subscriptions, each worth roughly $100 a year. The numbers indicated we were entering a market worth over $1 billion. This was a huge green light. When you are a participant in the market and the numbers align with the conversations you're having with your audience, it's pretty safe to assume that you're onto something. But before you take a huge mortgage and sell the skin off your back and pawn your grandmother's gold teeth and risk your children's college savings to pay for this fun project, let's talk about safe, efficient product development. If you're a maker, this is where passion kicks in to fuel your creativity and help you explore original ideas. But while this process might be enjoyable, building on passion alone is not enough. This is not Lego, this is business.
When you don't hear from people that you're going to the right direction, it's very easy to lose track. This was the thing that made Bloxy successful. It's this cycle of listening to the customer, making improvements based on that, and doing it all over again.
This is the team behind Bloxy, a growingly popular WordPress theme that allows anyone with any level of experience to build a professional, high-performing website in minutes. When they first launched the theme, they only built a version that took them a short time to create. And ever since then, they've treated every product update with an extreme amount of caution not to invest much time in development before getting it into the hands of users.
We build an initial version of a certain feature, maybe not complete, and we just saw the reaction. We saw how people used it, we watched the requests, what features, what problems they had with it, and we improved, and it's constant iteration.
A basic version of your product or feature released primarily to collect feedback is what we call an MVP. Nope, not that kind of MVP, we're talking about minimum viable product. Releasing MVPs will shorten the amount of time you spend working on a product before validating that it in fact has value. This reduces the risk of working on something that no one needs, and it also helps you maintain a highly focused product with essential features only. However, the main challenge in building an MVP is finding people to validate it.
We even had a meeting with a local development company that was creating websites for their clients, and we showed them how the user interface works, and they were like amazed. Wow, I could build this really fast for my client.
When seeking validation for a product, the input Blocksy collects will fall into one of two categories, both of which are crucial to healthy product development. Exchange with individuals will provide qualitative feedback, input that puts you in the shoes and minds of individual users, allowing you to see things from their perspective. Quantitative feedback is the second type, providing numbers indicating how the users are responding to your product.
We just have a form, to the support form that we have on the website. We have a feature request form, and we just keep an internal backlog of the feature requests.
The biggest hurdle in getting useful quantitative feedback is gathering enough people around your product to provide it. The Blocksy team leveraged the Freemium model. They offer a free product that attracts a large user base to test new features and fill out support tickets. However, as the feedback accumulates, the Blocksy team are very selective in which features they develop and which not.
Before sitting down and implementing a certain features, it has to pass a certain threshold for amount of requests. So if it doesn't pass it, we're just not gonna sit down and do it. It's just clear numbers.
While addressing user feedback, it's crucial to recognize that while the pains are real, the proposed solutions might not be viable. Your product can't be everything to everyone. You can't afford to spend your time on something that is requested by few if you don't have proof that the rest of your customers will need them. Once you're clear on which features you're going to develop and which not, testing the product through quick feature iterations turns the whole product development process into a spiral of gradual improvement. Product market fit in the real world is a never-ending process of finding the fit and optimizing it continuously. This is great news for makers like Patrick, who initially failed to achieve this.
I was almost certain I would abandon it, honestly, but I noticed some shift in terms of customer support questions. 99% of people reaching out were agencies, also super big agencies with like 200 employees or so. And they asked super specific questions. I built that feature, they bought the license. So I built this specific feature for one big agency, and they recommended it basically to 100 other agencies facing similar problems. And that kind of went viral.
By maintaining good customer support and analyzing shifts in customer demographics, Patrick was able to turn a dead product viral. He just had to replace his focus on restaurants and bar owners with agencies. And this time, Patrick was lucky to find himself in a familiar market.
Agencies tend to speak technical as well. They have their own developers, they have their own technical department. So you kind of speak the same language, and it's easier to convince people that your particular product is like the best fit for their use case.
Product makers will soon realize that as much as your product is not equally valuable to all customers, not all customers are equally valuable to you as a business. Prioritizing your ideal customer persona and focusing on feedback from those specific users will boost your market fit to exceptional heights by making you the obvious go-to for your favorite market segment. Before we sign off, let me sum up the process to make the takeaways as digestible as possible. Product market fit is a relationship between the market and your product. You want to start by identifying a market to avoid wasting months and years on something that in hindsight would never fly anyway. Answer the 4 cardinal questions to ensure your target market is valuable, and test yourself by rating a short value proposition and testing it with your audience. Remember that it's always easier to build for a market you're already a part of, and dog food your product by being its first user. Always start with an MVP to avoid unnecessary development time. And don't build a bloated product with features no one will use. Collect both quantitative and qualitative feedback on your MVP, and finally use the process to identify your ideal customer persona and gradually adapt your product to them. Thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe down here for more business tips and best practices, and see you in the next video.